since the acquisition in 2017, what has changed for AppDynamics and how has the journey been so far?
AppDynamics, we're really in the core application performance monitoring space. And that industry itself has really expanded into full stack observability. And being part of Cisco really enables us to execute on that vision of full stack observability, because it's not enough to just have application performance metrics, but you need to understand the entire stack and have everything from visibility to insight to action in order to have what we consider a full functioning offering within full stack observability. And obviously, as Cisco, we've got a really large opportunity to do that with all the other properties that we have. So we've got the Cisco Security Group, we've got Thousand Eyes, we've got Cisco Interset Workload Optimizer. There's a lot of properties that we can bring together to really leverage and bring a full stack observability platform to market.
Before we get into the security aspect, can you just tell us about how are enterprises becoming increasingly reliant on applications to engage with and deliver better services to customers?
Sure. We wholeheartedly believe that application has become the business. We believe that for a while now, with the increase of mobile phones and access to internet globally. It really has changed how people interact with businesses, and you see this across industries. It's not related to just banking or travel. And then the pandemic has really increased that. We're interacting less person to person. We've seen a massive increase in adoption of cloud technologies, which has really driven the application to be front and center for businesses.
What would you say are the top security concerns for this change environment for chief security officers and head of ITs?
Yeah, so we've seen a significant increase in cyber attacks over the last few years, and that's exponentially grown during the pandemic. And with the increase of complexity of applications, the move to cloud and microservices, that just keeps getting more and more complex. So it's not necessarily that the game has changed, but it's gotten much more complex to understand what vulnerabilities you have. And that's really why we collaborated with the Cisco Security Group to build Cisco Secure Application. And what that does is it gives you real-time insight into the vulnerabilities that exist within your application. And we take it a step further to actually enable real-time blocking of any exploits that are being taken against those vulnerabilities. So we give you the ability to actually action against it and stop those. And that's a really important feature. We don't think it's enough today to just give visibility into what vulnerabilities exist, but you have to have the ability to block. And that's a big part of why we built the Cisco Secure App.
So about the Cisco Secure App, how would you compare this solution to your competitors? And what is the main USP of this particular app that sets it apart?
It goes back to that visibility piece of really it's not enough just to have visibility to what vulnerabilities exist within the application. Yes, it's a complex problem. A lot of the vulnerabilities exist within transient dependencies, so that's a little bit harder to understand, and it helps to have the runtime. But it does go back to that being able to block. And what I like to talk about is using the analogy of having a museum. Right? And if you think about, you've got guards on the outside, you've got protection at the edge, but if somebody gets in, you don't really know where they're going. And you need to ensure that you've got those guards around your artwork, so you know exactly what they're attacking in the context of the attack and be able to stop it at the artwork or at the application, if we break up the analogy there. And so that's the really important piece, is to be able to see it within the application context and stop it at that level.
Can you explain what the situation would be like before and after the implementation of the Cisco Secure Application? What changes for the application, for its security protocol, and what are the advantages that one can expect?
And when we started building this, we had conversations with our customers, and a lot of the feedback we heard from customers was, if this brings a new agent into our environment, it's a non-starter for us. We don't want to have a conversation about yet another agent in the environment. And that's the great thing about pairing AppDynamics with the Cisco Security Group, is we're able to leverage the agents that we have. So if you're an AppDynamics customer today, you just literally, you upgrade your agent to a more recent version, and then you turn on the entitlement within the application, and you've got the full vulnerability management within AppDynamics with Cisco Secure Application. So it really is seamless for existing customers. And then if we as we expand to new customers, you get both solutions. You get your application performance monitoring, you get your full stack observability with the security aspect. So it really does simplify the solution, where you don't have to have 15 different tools, but you have one simple solution that can cover your full stack observability with security context. And we think that's very powerful.
Any case study that you can give us, Ty, in a real world scenario about cyber breach happening and how exactly the Cisco Secure Application can go about mitigating that?
I don't have a specific use case to talk about because if there was a vulnerability, we wouldn't be able to talk about it. But I can tell you we've had this in our own environment. We've been what we call dog fooding and using it and having some of our teams internally attack staging environments so we can see in real time what's being exploited. We can make sure that it's being caught. And it's really great within the UI. You can literally see the line of code that is executing the vulnerability. So let's say it's a SQL injection or some type of other vulnerability. You click through to Cisco Secure Application, and now you can see, yes, it's being executed. And here is the line of code that you need to go look at, which opened up this vulnerability. And so that is drastically different than anything else we've ever seen in the market, right? Because again, if you talk about that edge protection, you may see, a SQL injection being executed at the firewall, but now you have to go figure out, okay, well, where was that connection going to from the firewall? What happened? Go look at, 15 different logs, then go to the application and say, okay, was the application susceptible to this vulnerability and was it executed? We cut that entire kind of investigation down, and we can tell you again in real time within the application, was it executed and what line of code was vulnerable to that exploit. And that's incredibly powerful.
Can you take us back to the drawing room? Like, when did the whole idea to bring this solution to market come about?
It really started in the Cisco security group, and they wanted to understand, again, with this complex environment being built, can you bring security closer to the application? And then they started talking to AppDynamics about our agents and what our agents were capable of. And we really fairly quickly understood that we actually had enough context within our agents to be able to tell the Cisco Secure Application whether there's vulnerabilities in there. And then because we're running within the application in the runtime, we have the ability to look at the source code of what's actually being executed. And so we really realized that we could bring that together and we could use machine learning and AI to drive that down to really understanding in a much quicker kind of MTTR of security of, was this executed and was this vulnerability exploited? So it really started off as some brainstorming sessions, but we quickly realized we were onto something with all the context AppDynamics already had about the application.